Good afternoon or good morning for those on the West Coast, and welcome to AmeriCollect's webinar titled CallMiner. I am your moderator today. My name is Sean Gretz. I'm the Vice President of Sales for AmeriCollect. Before we begin, I'd like to show you a few things on the right-hand side of your GoToWebinar screen. There's two areas that you may want to pay attention to. On the right-hand side, you'll see that there's handouts available. There's two handouts for this webinar. There's a PDF, and then there's also the PowerPoint. You can download the handouts for this event. Also on the right-hand side, there's a question session. In that question area, just type your questions in, and if there's time at the end, we'll ask the questions of Kenlon. If not, we'll get back to you after the webinar to answer your questions. So like I said, Kenlon T. Gretz is the president and CEO of AmeriCollect and AmeriABO. He's the creator of Ridiculously Nice Collection Dialogue and has worked in the healthcare collection industry since 1988. Welcome, Kenlon.
Thank you, Sean, and welcome to all of our guests who are attending today's webinar. We appreciate you being here on this first full day of, or second full day of summer, I guess. So welcome to all of you. CallMiner, it's a speech analytics. What you're going to learn in the webinar today is how it's changing the way we talk to your customers. AmeriCollect, of course, is a collection agency, and our extended business office, AmeriABO, that's the abbreviation for extended business office, which handles your early out, your self-pay, and other functions where we act as you. We use CallMiner in both of those companies of ours, and we're going to show you today how Ridiculously Nice Collections really does help you collect more money. So let me take you about a little bit of a history here. A little bit of our history is that we're trying to change how collection agencies are viewed by being ridiculously nice. And every month at our monthly meeting, we have our staff give us the compliments that they had. And we list a few of them and go through these compliments at our monthly meeting and just talk about it. It's amazing that what we're hearing from consumers that really do appreciate a collection agency that treats them ridiculously nice. And oftentimes they use it in the words when they describe it. So here's someone that gave a compliment to our entire company. Sad to find her accounts were sent to a second placement. She enjoyed calling our office. We are the nicest collection agency. Here's an example of Holly. This consumer was afraid to call due to bad experience at other agencies, but said that she was very professional and friendly and loved it. I mean, we don't get too many compliments that they say that they love it, but these are the actual words that the consumer uses. And Barb's got a nice one here too. She stated that since she was so nice that she's just going to be paying in full instead of doing a payment plan. And you know what? Nice does work, and we are here to prove that, and we're changing how collection agencies are viewed. At our monthly meeting that we have, we make a list of all the compliments that we had for the month, and we raffle off 2 gift cards to 2 coworkers. But just kind of a neat thing to do is to show our staff that being nice works. It also decreases turnover at a collection agency too. When you have staff that are busy being nice to people, they don't dread coming to work. But so how does nice fit into CallMiner? You know, for many years we thought, you know, the nicer you are on the phone, the more money you'll collect. What CallMiner did for us was actually put that to a score. So we developed a ridiculously nice score, and then we said, all right, who scores high? Do they actually collect more money if they're nicer? And the answer to that question is simply, yes, they do. Let's talk a little bit about CallMiner. You may be looking at this particular webinar for saying, hey, listen, for my health system, I might want to purchase CallMiner. Or you might want to say, hey, listen, I want to make sure that my collection agency is utilizing a tool like CallMiner, and how can it drive more results? So about 2 years ago, we decided, probably a little bit over 2 years ago, we started the search for a speech analytics solution. And Robert from my office did an analysis. I think he started out with 5 individual companies that offer this product. We narrowed it down to 2 pretty quickly. And so he did a scorecard analysis. We were looking about how can this help us improve compliance and quality? How can we drive collector performance, really find where their skills need to be enhanced, and really to identify our top collectors and how can we push them to the next level. And then increased productivity and efficiencies and revenue generation. All of those things were what we were looking for out of this tool. So we took the purchase of this software very seriously. We ended up with CallMiner, their Eureka product. They have different levels of products, and we're using their Eureka. So they definitely, in the collection market space, were looked at as definitely the leader in the industry. We talked to many of their references, and they all had good experiences. Speech analytics is throughout many contact centers, but CallMiner is especially good in the collection market space. They have a cloud platform. We liked that. We weren't interested in another a server on site. PCI certification, which means that when we send them call recordings, it's redacted, and our own system does that. So credit card numbers are redacted from the transcript and things like that. They're flexible. We love that about them. And the platform is scalable. So as we continue to grow, it's easy for us to add on more hours. That's easy to do. We also wanted a company that thinks and acts like we do. You know, putting the customers first, making sure that everything is right. And I'll tell you, from the time that we were onboarded with them until even today, we just had someone from their office visiting for a day, analyzing what we're doing, what we could do better, what she was seeing in other industries that she could share with us. It's a good relationship. I guess I'll say that. You know, the ridiculously nice is really important for us. What this comprehensive analytics suite does is it gives us this business intelligence that we never had. And I'll give you just a simple example. We loaded some second placements from a collection agency that was closing their doors. And this collection agency closed their doors. They went out of business. We took over their accounts, basically. We didn't purchase them or anything like that. And we figured out, so we took the data out of their system. They sent it to us. And in a little bit of time, we noticed that when we said that the patient was Mary, the person would say, no, I was never at that hospital. Well, it turned out the field that they gave us as the patient name was really the guarantor name. And so they were automatically loading the guarantor name to the patient field. Well, we didn't know that until we started making phone calls, but we thought it was maybe one or two accounts. And then what we used is we used the speech analytic tool to listen to and analyze the calls for the day that we were getting, and all of these inbound phone calls and outbound phone calls for this particular set of clients, to validate that this was not just one small issue, it was a larger, broader issue. And where we were able to identify it, we were able to change the patient name and eventually get the correct patient name loaded in there, so that when we continued to make outbound phone calls, that we had the right patient name in there. Again, we were contacting the right person. We were contacting the guarantor. It was just that when we were on the phone, we didn't have the real person's patient name, and we resolved that because of CallMiner. Everyone in our call center has direct access to timely information. That's great. The collection agents love the use of CallMiner because they can see how they're doing. CallMiner comes in sort of two different sections. There's the CallMiner Eureka, which is the people that are in charge of operating CallMiner that do the queries. That's what they use. The end user uses what's on the right-hand side here. What they use is they use their individual scorecards. So a collector can see their compliance score, their ability and willingness score, the ridiculously nice dialogue. Did they have a solid tax talk-off during tax time? Did they do a solid loan talk-off? And they can see this. So there's two different sides to this. The end user, which the collectors really, you know, they're monitored on these KPIs. Their team leaders talk to them about it. Individual team leaders can see how they're doing. So there's two different sides to it. One is the Eureka side, and then the My Eureka side. So what we've done in the past, we've used quality. We maybe monitor 5 to 10 phone calls a month of a collector. Now we have an automated scorecard that's updated every day, taking all of the calls that are recorded, sending them off to CallMiner, and that they score them. We can quickly find coachable moments. If a team leader is reviewing some bad calls. They can zero in on some identity of that call, that it didn't go well, and then immediately coach that agent instead of waiting to stumble across an account that they had where they had a bad call about, you might stumble across an account once every 2 months or so. Here we'll be able to drill down and find opportunities for improvement. The other thing that our staff really likes is that team leaders can compare individuals that are within their team leader group to see if everybody's trending low on something. Do we need to go back and retrain on that, or is everybody doing well, or is there one person that's not doing what they should be doing? That's really important for us. To be able to leverage the instant insights for common metrics. I mean, they are instant. We can tell if we're dialing a particular client's account that maybe it's a new client and we're struggling with something, and we're hearing a lot of objections, and we can see that the conversion ratio where we get a certain number of promises, we can drill down and listen to those difficult phone calls and maybe do some additional education. And again, targeted scores where we help the collectors determine whether or not they're actually meeting the needs. So it's a tool for management. It's a tool for increasing the revenue, but it's also a tool for compliance at the same time. So we use these analytics to drive the optimal results for our clients. The customized analytics and scores, it helps us get to the needs that you set for us. If you have standards of work that you want to have happen, we can make sure that those are done. Compliance, of course, is a huge issue at any collection agency. We're monitoring that, and really it's helpful with root cause analysis to identify opportunities for improvement. Here's a sample screenshot. This is all part of the ridiculously nice dialogue. On the left-hand side here, I'll grab the little highlighter. Each one of these are categories. So dialogue for date of birth. Are we verifying that there is the correct date of birth? Did we validate it? Did we verify the address? Did we ask for payment in full in the opening dialogue? Did we create a sense of urgency? And there are certain queries that we use and words that we're looking for. It's basically taking the call recording and converting it to text and then analyzing it. We also have the score. Of course, every once in a while we all say and we try to monitor that to make sure that people are using it as least as possible. Did they offer a payment plan? Did they mention a credit report if they were supposed to? Did we verify that they were possibly working or that their spouse was working? All of these are individually built by you and your organization to find and measure the quality that you're looking for. Did they talk about insurance if they gave the insurance information? Did they say the right thing if the patient says that they're unemployed? Did they make them feel like they're worthy, but they're just struggling right now? All of these things fit into what we look for on a great call. And if we continue to define what those are so that our collectors can get a more accurate and a more accurate score, but also generate more revenue. How do we build the queries and the searches? It's extremely complicated at first. I know that when CallMiner came on staff, we had about 12 people that were in the training sessions for 4 days. We ended up with about 2.5 full-time people that managed the CallMiner process, whether it's building queries or pulling reports, specific reports for team leaders or managers. But you can search for any specific word or phrase, and then you can build filters to narrow your results, and you save your searches. You can search, see the context of the word or phrase in the results, saying that during this particular conversation, this was handled. Did they verify employment? So it's easy to search for and to build repeatable searches to get to what you're looking for by group, and then eventually build it into a score for each category. A lot of organic discovery, the root cause analysis with a click of a mouse. These bubble words that pop up really do help you visualize what's happening on a particular call set. And I think that that's really important. You can spend almost too much time looking at the bubble words, but you'll see that, of course, the common thing that people say that they have the wrong number or that their mailing address is this. It's a really good way to discover what's happening within an organization to find root cause analysis. The bubble words, again, are one of those things where you see the words that are being said most frequently and most often, and if you can narrow it down to a particular type of call, whether you had a right party comment call, a right party contact, or whether you had a wrong number call, those kinds of bubble words, you can hear and see what's visually happening. That's something that's extremely important to managers, to be able to look and see what is happening to an individual collector. Are they spending too much time on one particular topic, or are they moving on to get to the meat of the call? Here's an example of Felicia. She's one of our collectors here. She has an individual compliance score of 98. These scores are self-definable. Some of them are set up as percentages. Some of them are set up from 1 to 1,000. Some are set up from 1 to 100. It gives us her compliance score. She sees this on a daily basis. It's part of her KPI. It's part of how she gets paid. This particular period, we pulled it for last week. So this is her last week's calls. So she was at 98% compliance overall, and that she's improving. Down here, it shows some of the things that she's working on. It's got an inbound verification. Is she doing all of the things that she needs to on an inbound phone call to verify she's talking to the right parties? Now, she's ranking low, and that's a talking point that her team leader will discuss with her and say, here's where you need to improve on this particular avenue. We've developed something called the ability and willingness score internally. As a collector, a person has to have the ability to pay and willingness. Now, this particular person's score is at 71. Now, that may seem low to you, but the score is built. You build the score for this, and then you monitor how everybody is doing, and then you do education to try to see if you can drive that score up. So when you build a score, you never know where everybody's going to land, but at least it gives you a baseline to see where they're improving and who are the top 10% of your organization, who are the next 11 to 20%, and what is in those calls to get the ability and willingness to go up. A person's ability to pay, which generates revenue, and their willingness to pay, which generates even more revenue. And how do we ask the questions to define if a person has the ability and willingness? And of course, we've also generated our own ridiculously nice dialogue, a score that we tied to performance to say the higher your score, the more nice you are, the more money that you're going to collect for our staff. And here's a blow up of Felicia. It shows the compliance, ability, and willingness. So this is a scorecard with my Eureka that the individual collectors use on a daily basis to see where they're at. And the team leaders use it to talk to the collector about how they're doing. This particular screenshot was taken back during tax time to show that we had a solid tax talk-off. These scores are interchangeable. So during different times of the year, we change them out. Right now, we're not talking taxes, so that's not showing there. The loan talk-off is something 28% of the time she's having a conversation about loans. Now, it may be appropriate on certain dollar balances, but if it's a $100 balance, we probably won't talk to the consumer about getting a loan. But if it's a $500 or a $700 balance, we might talk to them about it. If the consumer tells us that they're not employed, it may not be worthy of asking. So it's a score that she's looking at, and she's improving that. These individual scores, you and your organizations at your healthcare organization can develop any kind of scoring mechanism you want to. Again, it helps you create a benchmark. It's hard to compare it to another collection agency because everybody's score is built just a little bit differently. From a team leader standpoint, Kayleen here is one of our team leaders. She's able to see her individual collectors and see how those individual collectors rank compared to other teams. This is really important for us. Amber happens to be her manager. Amber's her manager. Kayleen's a team leader, and she's got a group of about 10 people on her team. and she can see how their compliance score, they're all doing really well on the compliance score. In fact, 97% of the calls are compliant, and that's a great score. There's always an error ratio. When you're converting speech to text, we all have different cadences. Some of us speak faster or slower than others. And so to get a perfect score of 100 is really difficult. So our passing score is actually 92, I believe, is considered a passing score, because CallMiner, it's never perfect. There's always a variance in how it converts speech to text. So her overall team has got a solid loan talk-off of 37% of the time they're bringing up a loan conversation, which is one of the higher of the groups, and it's also improving. The percent silence is something that we look at. The score, the percent silence, we want to make sure that our collectors are always communicating with the consumer. What we find is newer collectors, just like your systems, we have different windows that we have to go into, and we're slowly learning that the better job we do on the front end, training our team to make sure that they know how to get to the information, decreases the percent silence. And when you think about 28% of the talk time is silence, that's not a good number. Now, we've improved it, and when we started, we were at about 34%. We've improved it as an organization, and each team is working on improving that. But it's really about making sure that you continue that conversation so the consumer feels like they're engaged at all times, not the 1 second while I go look for this. It happens now and again. You may have to put someone on hold to talk to a team leader to get some advice on how to handle an individual account, and that's going to be silence, of course. But we try to look for those improvements that we can do throughout. And again, here's the blow up of Kayleen's scores and her individual customers, or her individual teammates, actually. As a company, we look at our overall compliance for the entire company, making sure that our behavior across the entire company, that we want to make sure that it's a good compliance score, that a solid tax talk off or loan talk off, the percent of silence. That's really important for us to monitor that, and we monitor that on a weekly basis to make sure that we're not seeing any trends within the organization that would lead us to believe that something incorrect is happening or that there's some sort of issues. So tying this all to ridiculously nice. So our score that we've created, we've bucketed it into green, you're above. So if it's above 70, 77%, I believe it is, that means that you're 100% ridiculously nice. When I take these particular collectors here and we show you our collector rankings to see where they're at, the majority of the collectors that are in the green are going to be in our top 25% of collectors. Nice does work. We also factor into the ridiculously nice dialogue, confidence, language, politeness, and empathy. Those particular categories, we came with the CallMiner system as predefined. We've then added words to those that we want to see in a conversation that shows empathy and politeness. And as you develop CallMiner for your own health system, or those are things that you're going to say, how can I make sure that my staff, that we're evaluating them correctly? Now, this particular group of team leaders, their overall collectors, I think this is the manager, their overall collector average is at 69%, which is low. It's not even in the middle section here, which is 70 to 76, I believe, is in the middle section. So they've got some room to grow here. This particular collection manager has some room to go with their team. Not everybody, again, it's a benchmark that we're trying to get our entire team to be ridiculously nice, and it's work. But we do show that the nicer they are, the more money that they're going to collect. And again, these are our own standards. So the red doesn't scare me when I look at that number, that they're hovering at about a 69%. That's something that we're using to drive more revenue as they become nicer. The cool thing is that you can search for what you want. Imagine you have your own business office and you're thinking of implementing CallMiner, and you want to search for denial, the words denial, or you can build these queries on your own and then start pulling those accounts and really listening to see what's been happening to you. I think about healthcare systems, the HCAHPS scores. I think that this would be a great tool for you. I know that our extended business office, we are in the middle of starting to develop dissatisfier queries, words that consumers use when they're on a phone call with a business office and that they're upset about different things within an organization. And I think that that's really important. Issues about quality of the care, issues about billing with insurance, or issues with post-discharge care. Billing those queries to make sure that we can identify those calls and then send those calls off to our extended business office clients for them to listen to the calls and then develop a score that says, on a call, did we handle those calls well for the client? And then measure it on a monthly basis, but more importantly, to determine the root cause of why customers are dissatisfied with any portion of a healthcare provider's process, whether it's billing or quality of care. That root cause analysis we think is extremely valuable. And I think what else CallMiner does is it gives you that tip of the iceberg before it's too late. When you start to see words that pop up that you're not used to seeing in the communications, in the bubble words, you have to say to yourself, if these words are happening more and more, what is it? Is it by the insurance payer? Is it that Humana is we're having issues with patients who use Humana and there's a lower dissatisfaction score with those particular patients? Is it a Medicare issue? Is it a particular specific clinic that you're getting more lower dissatisfaction scores for? So the tools that you have with CallMiner are almost infinite. You can end up getting too deep in the weeds very easily. That happened to us last year in the summer. We were getting too deep into the weeds too often that we said, you know what, let's look at the high level things and occasionally look at the weeds to see what's happening. So it's a powerful tool. Training and confirmation of education. This is something that we've found that CallMiner is extremely valuable. We do a great job training on insurance for collectors. What we thought we would do is take it to the next level. So what we did is we developed what we called a pilot group, Elite Insurance Training. So we took collectors, we did a 2.5-day training session on insurance, really deep insurance information so that they have a greater understanding. And we wondered if this 2.5-day training would be worthy or not. So again, our insurance experts spent the time with a group, I think it was like 15 or 20 collectors that they did this insurance training on. But what they did prior to this is that they built a score. They built a score in CallMiner. And what they did is that they took all other collectors and their score was 11.6. We based it off of 2,224 calls. Their score was 11.6. After the insurance pilot group got done training for a period, I think it was from May 1st of this year till June 1st, an entire month, that particular group then we monitored 688 calls with that same insurance score, and their score rose from 11% overall to 15.7, a 35% increase. So when we looked at this, we said, and here's her explain. We called it, the query was called "Explain Insurance Better," and she was part of the group that was Elizabeth was part of the group for the Elite, and so she had a score of 42. So we're seeing some rock stars out there that really know how to explain insurance. So we've taken these collectors then, and they're going to lead the next training group and actually be the go-to people when a collector has a question with a consumer regarding insurance and they're not quite sure where to go with it. This person, like Elizabeth, is going to be a backup to be able to help answer those questions and help grow other people. But it's a great way for us, these CallMiner is in this situation is to validate that that training is effective. When you spend 2.5 days training a group of people, you have to say, am I getting my bang for my buck out of this? And if we can help more consumers understand why their insurance paid, well, that gets them to decide that they're going to pay more quickly when we can do an effective job explaining that their insurance paid as much or they denied it for this reason. And also for our clients, it saves a phone call back to your office too, that they're not calling you back to answer questions and things like that. So again, what it does is it helps us identify who's got high skills and who has low skills and needs more training. And that's really important for us. And it also helps us figure out, our teammates are in a group of it's about 10 people per team. And what we want to do in that team is we want to mix a good blend of people that have great insurance knowledge, great loan talk-offs, great skills with handling upset consumers, those that are ridiculously nice. We try to blend these teammates because our teammates change teams. They change team leaders and change physical seats every 6 months to help sort of twist up that pot to make sure that that group is learning together as an entire team. And so you mix in all of these different skill sets, it'll actually raise the skill sets of other people. And speech analytics, now that we have these individual scores, can help us build a better team so that team cohesively does a better job and collects more money. So what we've seen a 7.8% increase in compliance. And that's an amazing number. Moving that number of increased compliance, 7.8%, is an amazing number for us. 2% improvement in promises paid. We've taught our collectors that these words, when you get a promise, we call it overselling. How can you oversell to make sure that that patient really comes through with the patient or with the promise that they said they were going to do? And a 9% improvement in promises per collector. Getting to the right people at the right time, using the right words. 93% increase in calls monitored. Well, that's going to happen because all of the calls are sent every night off to CallMiner, 93%. 2.3 FTE reduction in manual hours to perform quality monitoring. That's a great reduction. It's a reduction, but we also have more people monitoring the call monitor process, more technical people. Training was well done from the startup. We trained about 12 people to understand how it works. They were here for about 4 days. We had about 2 FTE do the implementation period over about 6 months, but we are still learning even after 2 years. CallMiner has a university that they send, the university is called Listen, and you can send staff to this and meet with other people that are using CallMiner from other industries. It's a great opportunity. In fact, Jenny from our office, Jenny and Thomas are 2 of the key people at our office that help us implement CallMiner for all different departments. We have about 2 FTE managing the process between AmeriCollect and AmeriEBO. Our annual cost with labor is about $170,000 for this product. It's not an inexpensive product, but it's worth it. In my mind, from a compliance standpoint, knowing that we have that, we're able to, our business intelligence has increased so much. And again, I feel that we're only about 10% into CallMiner at this point. And what I mean by that is that there's always more tools that we're developing, more queries to really define what's working well with a customer. And we're very excited with AmeriEBO, our extended business office that does early out and self-pay work. We're excited about sharing this with our clients there to help you figure out and increase your HCAP scores. And as that kind of a tool, we think that it's going to be invaluable to those particular customers. So in summary, as I'm winding up here, we've had an increased performance, increased productivity, and improved data with intelligence. CallMiner has really helped take us to that next level, and we're happy to say that we are partnering with them. Our next webinar, again, we're trying to keep this within a half an hour, reconciliations. You're going to learn about the best practices to ensure your team is being highly productive and efficient. We do many, many different types of reconciliations with our clients. We've built some automated process to help identify which kinds of file management is causing us the most issues with reconciliation. So this thing will be an exciting Thursday, August the 11th from 1 to 1:30. You can register there. Again, ridiculously nice. I appreciate you joining our webinar, and 7-time winner of Inc. magazine's fastest growing company. We should find out how we did with that sometime later this fall. And 7-time winner of best places to work in collections from 2009 to 2015. And 2014, we were #1 in the nation. So thank you for those of you that are joining us, those that are potential clients. We hope you join AmeriCollect. Those of you that are existing clients, thank you for being a loyal customer. Anything we can do to help you, please reach out and ask us. Thank you so much.